Jedrzejczyk versus Zhang. So if you watch this fight, you know that Joanna started off looking like a regular Polish woman. About halfway through, she started looking like a little bit of a zombie. And by the end of it, she was looking like an alien. And that's because she successfully dodged so many punches with her head. Okay, so I have a lot to say about that. First of all, oh my gosh, I'm concerned for Joanna Jedrzejczyk. I'm probably just going to say Joanna because her last name is so hard to say. Zhang is an easy last name for me to say though, so I'll stick to that. So Joanna took some hard hits to the head because Zhang fucking hits hard. She made that clear. Now what Zhang doesn't do, well, it's more like what she does do. She telegraphs her hits. It's pretty easy to see her coming. So we got to the point where late in the fight, even though Jedrzejczyk, did I say that right, had so much swelling going on in her face, and I'm sure could probably only see out of one of her eyes, she was still dodging punches from Zhang because Zhang telegraphs so much. So Zhang, you know what? I love you. I was honestly rooting for you. I hate to admit my bias, but I was rooting for you, but you need to work on your boxing, and specifically you need to make sure that you don't telegraph so much because most of your hits were actually really easy to see coming, and they were dodged even when Joanna was in her condition that you managed to put her in because you hit so freaking hard, but you telegraph all the way through. So what else is there to say about this fight? Obviously, it was so shocking to see Joanna become kind of deformed, and she started looking like a different person throughout the fight because of the swelling to her face. So let's talk about what actually hit her and what actually transpired throughout the fight. This fight came in with a lot of fire. These two women were going at it. You could tell they both really wanted to win. They both wanted to go home with that belt. They both wanted the championship. This is one of the best fights I've ever seen from Joanna. She came in, she wanted it wholeheartedly. She wanted that belt back. And she was willing to do whatever she had to do to get it. I do think her training was very effective. I think she worked on her takedown defenses a lot. She managed to stay on her feet for almost the entire time. I did, however, see one time about midway through when she was actually towards the center of the ring, the cage, excuse me, and she went down completely. Like, she was down on her knees. If Zhang had seized that opportunity and moved faster, Zhang could have taken her back and kept her down and submitted her probably right then and there. But what Zhang did instead is she tried to grab her from the side. She didn't fully go in for the pounce. She didn't take the leap. She didn't take the back. She only grabbed at the side, and then we didn't really see anything. We saw a few other attempts for Zhang to take Joanna down. Joanna defended them almost completely, only coming down for about half a second at a time, making her way back up and continuing to be a beast with the striking game. Now, we did see both women take some hard hits to the head, and even though Joanna came out looking the worst, Zhang did have a swollen eye by the end of the match, so you can see that some hits landed pretty hard on Zhang as well. There were a couple hits from Joanna to Zhang where Joanna didn't really hit the way she should have hit. And I'm not judging at this point because of how much Joanna went through in the fight. But I'm a little bit concerned for Joanna's arm because there was one hit, one back fist that looked really good. Everyone was cheering when this happened. Joanna hit. She spun around and she hit Zhang in the face with a spinning back fist, but when we saw the slow motion from a different angle, we saw that she actually hit with her forearm instead of the back of her fist. Now, I didn't see anything look like it broke, but that is a way that you can wind up breaking your arm if that happens. Another thing we saw is that Zhang ate a kick to the eye from Joanna, but this kick landed with the foot instead of with the shin. So you hear this back and forth with a lot of like taekwondo people versus kickboxing people, like you're never supposed to kick with your feet. And then the Taekwondo people are like, but yes, sometimes you can. And the reality of it is, yes, sometimes it does happen. Some kicks end up hitting with the foot instead of the leg. The point is that it's not ideal because you can end up fairly easily breaking a toe, breaking a metatarsal. There's so many small bones in your foot, so it's really not ideal. So Joanna might have walked away with a few injuries that we don't know about yet from her own striking. What I found super interesting about this match is that we started off with an exchange where Zhang had the first few excellent leg kicks. Joanna was doing better with the boxing, the head striking. Zhang's punches, Zhang's strikes to the head were far too telegraphed in round 1, and Joanna was reading her body language a little bit too easily for much in the way of those head strikes to be landing. Now, by the end of it, however, things totally switched around, and Zhang wound up with more strikes to the head. Joanna wound up with more strikes to the leg. So I'm going to take us through each round. I took some notes here and talk about what happened. So good leg kicks from Zhang in the first round. They both took a few hard punches to the face, and there were a lot of wild shots coming from Zhang that did not hit at all. That's where we see those like wild hooks and all that stuff that just wasn't very effective, but did look intimidating. We also saw her try to throw a few spinning back kicks that didn't land, I think both in the first and the second round. In round 2, this is where it started to go downhill for Joanna. If you didn't notice, Joanna took a hard kick to the chest. That really takes the wind out of you. You started to see her slow down. You started to see her stumble a little bit more. I would say that within that round, she did seem to recover, and she landed a hard knee to the ribs against Zhang. And that's also the same round where she managed to kick Zhang in the eye, even though it landed with her foot. Ouch. By round 3, that's when we saw Joanna come to the ground a few times. Her knees at least touched the ground. And Zhang didn't quite seize the opportunity that I felt that she should have. She should have just jumped on top of her. She shouldn't have had any of that hesitation. But by then, Zhang was probably a little bit gassed out. Zhang seemed like her cardio wasn't as good. Like she didn't run as many miles per day or something like that. So she kind of gassed out a little bit before Joanna did. We saw, I think that this is where the swelling started. Joanna took some really hard hits to the temple, up here, and to the brow. I think it was actually the left brow. I can't remember for sure. It's hard to recall that. And there was one point where Joanna also got punched in the boob. Considering she has, from what I hear and from what I observe, honestly, she's had a boob job, so that made me wonder, like, does getting punched in the boob when you have an implant in there, does it hurt more than getting punched in the boob when you don't have an implant? If you know, leave a comment below. I was honestly curious. By round 4, we started to see that swelling. At this point, Joanna was looking like a zombie and started to look a little bit like an alien as we got further in. Joanna took hard hits from the right, from the left, straight on, all of it, from all angles. It was hard to watch at this point. I wound up feeling like the ref should have called it a little bit earlier, because I started to feel so bad for Joanna, and I became genuinely concerned. With that level of swelling, I really felt like the fight should have been called, and I'm still concerned for Joanna, and I'm gonna go to bed feeling that way. Honestly, I'm trying to not be too emotional here, but I hope she is okay. I wish her the best. So by round 5, I think anyone with any fucking common sense at all had to be impressed by Joanna and impressed by her heart, her level of dedication, how badly she wanted what she was actually fighting for, because she continued to dodge punches. She continued to fight, even with everything that was happening. You know, you could outwardly see the extent of the injuries and the swelling on her face. It was painfully obvious, but you got to keep in mind, with strikes to the head, almost 100% of the time, it is worse than it looks, because there's a lot of damage and a lot of stuff going on that we can't actually see. So Joanna blew me away, honestly, by the way she was able to continue dodging punches despite her condition, despite swelling, despite her, I'm assuming, compromised vision and compromised perceptions. You know, when you start to get hit like that, another thing that can happen is that you can become very dizzy. But we saw Joanna still continue to dodge the majority of the punches coming from Zhang despite that, which was truly phenomenal. We did see that solid back fist from Joanna happen. It was awesome. Oh my gosh, landing a back fist under that condition, I can't even fucking imagine, honestly. But unfortunately, like I said, her form did hit instead of having her actual fist, whether it be the bottom or the back. You know, some people prefer one way or the other. Having the forearm hit's not ideal because it could potentially break. From what I saw, I don't think it did break, thank goodness, but the point is that it could have. So yeah, despite looking like an alien, she was a real trooper in that final round. And like I said, by the end of it, Zhang had more strikes to the head. I think she was at like 105 strikes to the head. Joanna had, I think it was close to half of that. I think it was a little less than 60 strikes to the head that Joanna had. Was it landed or thrown? I don't remember how they do it. I mean, you can leave a comment below and correct me. Maybe you know better than me. And Joanna actually had more leg kicks by the end of it too, which I thought was interesting because Zhang did look like she had some pretty solid leg kicks. I do think there was a point in the fight where after the first round, Zhang seemed to have like really gotten the hang of Joanna's fighting style. She started to read her movements better. She started to seem like she knew what she was doing. But then one thing Joanna did is she picked up on that like fire and she started changing it up right away. I don't know if anyone else noticed that, but leave a comment below if you did. Joanna, she has a lot of tricky movements. You know, she has a lot of feints, like a lot of fake hip movements, a lot of fake shoulder movements, tripping up her opponent, making it look like she's going to throw stuff that she's actually not really about to throw. And I think by round 2, Zhang had really caught onto that and really started to adjust and adapt. But Joanna continued to make it tricky for her by switching things up, by being unpredictable. And I thought that was really interesting on the part of both fighters. Zhang's ability to observe and learn from mistakes and learn from past experiences. And then also Joanna's ability to be spontaneous. And we saw some crazy stuff from Joanna, you know, looking like she was about to take Zhang to the ground. Super ballsy, super unpredictable. Anyone who's done their research on the fighters knows that it wouldn't have been a good idea for Joanna to take Zhang to the ground, but it seemed like every time she made it look like she was about to do that, the timing was perfect because it was right when the round was about to be called. Anybody notice that? So anyway, if you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, leave a comment, share it with your friends, tell me what's up, and I will see you again